Howdy, guys, and welcome to night 58 of the Big Brother Season 24 overnight feed recaps, and welcome to Cliff Notes. All right, lots of conversations taking place last night. In fact, as I tape this, there's still house guests that are awake, so a lot to talk about, so let's just get right into it. Now, we had a TV episode last night, a live episode with a live eviction. Absolutely no surprise. Kyle was evicted. Also, really not a surprise that it was 5-0 vote. I guess Alyssa could have thrown him a pity vote, but he'd already said don't do that. So no surprises in who went home. We are now down to 7 house guests and 28 days left. We are at the end stage. It's amazing. So 7 house guests left. Speaking of surprises, eviction not a surprise, the vote not a surprise. We did get a surprise or two from Julie though. Next week, Thursday night, a live 2-hour double eviction episode. Yeah, we're going to be losing 2 more folks. It's going to be just like my season where we went from 7 house guests down to 5 in one fell swoop. We're going to get the same thing happening this year. 5 house guests. 5 is all it's going to be left. Not a lot of targets left in the house anymore, which is important when we talk about the HOH, which was held tonight as well. All right, so to finish up the TV episode itself, we saw the very beginning of the HOH competition, and that's all we saw. Can I talk about how disappointed I was for that? We saw how the HOH competition was set up. Basically, it consisted of everyone grabbing one puzzle piece at a time, running across the yard, putting their puzzle piece down, running back, gathering all the pieces. Once they did, they then had to build a somewhat life-size puzzle of Zingbot. Yes, Julie also informed us that Zingbot would be making an appearance. In fact, he did it last night. Normally it happens as part of a veto competition. It's changed up a little bit this year. Double eviction next Thursday, and Zingbot made his appearance tonight. But as I said, I was a little disappointed. We only got to see the first 15, 20 seconds of that competition before the show cut away. And of course, the feeds weren't back, so we didn't have any idea who had won, what was going on, which I wish I could have won it. Now, apparently, according to some of the house guests, it was a very quick competition. Say 3 minutes or so is all it took, which makes me wonder, was the original plan from CBS perhaps to show this HOH competition live? And because of the eviction speeches or because of Kyle's interview with Julie Chen after he was evicted, maybe those ran just a little bit long and they just ran out of time and said, oh, well. Or did they always plan it? I don't know, but I wish we could have seen the end of it because we do know who the winner is. When the feeds came back, we find out that the winner of this HOH competition is Michael. Talking about no surprises last night, yet another real lack of surprise. As soon as I saw it involved running, which ruled out Terrence and Brittany, as soon as I saw it involved puzzles, which kind of ruled out Alyssa, I really figured it was going to come down to either Michael or Turner or Monty. Well, apparently Michael dominated this thing. In fact, I think it was Monty talking a little bit later, says, he says, I figured it took maybe a minute and a half for Michael to get all his pieces to the other side of the yard. And he said probably only took another minute or half or so for him to put the puzzle together. He said, 3 minutes and this HOH competition was done. We haven't seen it ourselves, but the way other guests, the other house guests were describing it, it seems like Michael just flew through this thing. In fact, Michael even, I think it's when he's talking to Brittany, he told her, he said, I realized at the end that rather than finish that last puzzle piece, I should have just waited a little bit to make it seem a little bit closer because I didn't want it to seem like I won in a landslide. So he must have just killed this thing. This guy is a comp beast. That's now 3 HOH victories for him. I think he's tied the record for most competition wins in a Big Brother season. He's got a big target on his back, but it doesn't matter how big the target is if you continue to win HOH and vetoes every single week. So Michael is now the HOH winner for the week. And we got the feeds back around 7:45 or so Big Brother time to see that Michael had done that. Now, this is huge for Michael because this is the last time that if someone else had won HOH, they could have potentially backdoored Michael because there's going to be one person not playing in the veto. So there's always a possibility he wouldn't have played in veto and could have been backdoored. From this point on, even if someone else wins HOH, wants to put Michael on the block, he's going to have the chance to win veto, pull himself right back off. Yeah, he's looking good. It's just incredible watching this guy play. All right, so what's he going to do? Just some speculation looking forward. We know he's not going to put up Brittany or Taylor, right? And he's promised safety to Turner, which means there's only three targets left: Terrence, Alyssa, and Monty. It's got to be those three in terms of targets, initial nominations. If one of them wins veto, pulls someone off, the other one will go up. So we know the three people that are in trouble this week. It's just a matter of who's the actual target, and we're going to find that out with the conversations. Now, Terrence and Alyssa, they might make the most sense, so he can say that he stayed loyal to the leftovers. Yeah, these guys weren't in the leftovers, so why wouldn't I pick those two? There's certainly some people that want one or the other out, but Monty might be considered the bigger target over Terrence and Alyssa going forward. So that's going to be the conflict. That's going to be the discussion that will be had. So we'll see what happens. So with all that being said, let's talk about the feeds, because again, there were a lot of conversations. We'll start off with Terrence and Monty in the car bedroom. Terrence sounding a little bit despondent, saying, well, I'm going to just enjoy this week. And I don't remember if he said last week, but basically he's very much phrasing as this could be my last week. He said, I'm gonna enjoy it, do what I can, but it is what it is. He's realizing that he is likely the nomination, if not the target itself. He's wishing for some sort of special power or America's vote that could jump in and change things up a little bit. Don't think it's going to happen, Terrence. No, I don't think that's going to be the salvation. He is talking about with Monty. They're both talking about the minimal applause for Kyle. When Kyle was evicted, there was no booing. There was some clapping, but it was muted. It wasn't very loud or crazy clapping. Just a little bit here and there. So they're talking about that. They're wondering how the jury's going to react when they see Kyle was evicted, and then they hear the story behind it and all of that. So they're talking a lot about that. Both of them agreeing that Brittany and Michael revealing Kyle's conversations when they did was 100% a game move. They're not happy with that. Terrence is saying, look, Michael, if he makes it to final two, he says he's a comp beast. He very well could make it to the end. He probably deserves to make it to the end. He says, but if he makes it to the end, he is not getting my vote. There's no way I'm going to vote for that guy, because I recognize it's a game move that he set on that information and then revealed it. He's also saying that if he's in the jury house, not only is Michael not getting his vote, but he's going to sway the rest of that jury and make sure they all understand what happened as well. It's interesting. What bitter jury? Is it going to be a bitter jury? Is it going to be a jury that applauds strong gameplay, competition wins, things like that? Is there going to be someone in that house potentially poisoning them? As strong as Michael is, as much as we all sit here and say, man, if he makes it to final two, he absolutely deserves it. Is there a possibility that someone could go up and take this thing from him just based on everything that happened last week? Wouldn't that be something else? Can you imagine Alyssa and Terrence sitting on the block at the very end? Alyssa and Michael sitting on the block at the very end, and Alyssa is our season 24 Big Brother champion because of a bitter jury. We'll find out. We shall see. That could be interesting. All right. Not to say that Alyssa's on my list is least deserving left in the house. Although, yeah, I don't know. It would be an interesting final two, right? All right. We finally get the feeds cutting away. I don't know, 8:45 or so. Big Brother time for Zingbot, we assume. And when we come back, probably around 10 o'clock, so a little over an hour later, sure enough, they saw Zingbot. Now, apparently Zingbot was in the backyard up on a balcony, which is the way they've done it ever since COVID hit. So this is an old picture. Zingbot was not inside the Big Brother house like they did for my season. This is new COVID protocol. So Zingbot sitting up on a balcony, zinging away. And I haven't heard obviously they weren't on live feed, so I don't know officially. But I did hear some of the zings that were mentioned, at least bits and pieces. Others I didn't hear. I had to go rely on some other sources and what they're reporting for a few of these things. But as best as I can tell, here's the zings that were used by Zingbot, at least kind of the theme of each of them. Apparently for Michael, it was something about everyone else plays this game with mask on. They can take theirs off, except for you, Michael. Yours isn't a mask. That's just your real face, implying that he's ugly or something. I don't like the Zingbots that shame for body or I don't know. do things based on gameplay and such, but it is what it is. So apparently Zingbot made fun of Michael, implying that he's ugly. Taylor had something to do with her having such a cold heart. Turner, something to do with him smelling bad, lack of showering, and all of that. Yeah, I get that one. I'm not surprised, I suppose, but that was back in like week one when he was a have not and everything. That doesn't really. I'm not sure that applies now, but that was Turner's. Monty's mentioned about how boring he is. I don't know the context, but just that Monty is boring. Terrence something along the lines of he's an unknown DJ, that's underground, unknown DJ type person. The two that maybe were the biggest digs, I guess, to Brittany. Apparently, Zingbot. I guess Zingbot's a he, right? Zingbot referenced Brittany's crazy eyes, and they're saying that they're amazed. Monty says, "I noticed that she has her eyes very wide open when she gets excited." He said, "I'm amazed that Zingbot picked up on it." Well, Monty hadn't seen Brittany's preseason interview where she was very close to the camera and very much eyes open the whole time. So maybe that's what got the producer's attention. But apparently he talked about her crazy eyes, and it sounds like maybe Zingbot even sang a little song to Brittany, "Jeepers Creepers, where'd you get those crazy eyes?" or something like that. So they're laughing about that. And probably the toughest thing of all, the one I heard a little bit more about than the others, for Alyssa, Zingbot referred to her as dead weight and useless. Yeah, quite the dig on that one. Even worse, I think Zingbot then said, "Let me say it again, just so to make sure you understand," and may have said it several times, implying that Alyssa couldn't even pick up on it, which perhaps she didn't quite pick up on, because later she was saying maybe she needs to do more cleaning around the house and some things like that. So she's not getting that Zingbot's not talking about your activities around the house, but talking about your gameplay. So there you go. It'll be a lot more fun when we actually see the full context and the zings delivered by Zingbot themselves. But there you are. Very, very lukewarm on the zings based on the little bit I heard. But there you go. All right, more conversations as we go through this thing the evening. We've got Michael and Taylor talking to storage room soon after the feeds come back. Michael is saying that conversations are going to be awkward since he already pretty much knows what he's doing. He says he'll hold one-on-ones anyway, though, just to see if he can get some additional information from everyone else. Taylor is saying that Alyssa had told her that she and Kyle had gotten busy all over the house and many times before Kyle got evicted. So, Alyssa's informed Taylor, who has then informed Michael, and they're shocked. They're a little surprised that this happened. I guess I always forget they don't have the live feeds like we do, so they're not as aware of the situation. So they're trying to speculate where all over the house may suggest. All right. You may want to wash some sheets and everything while you get in the backyard. All right. Everyone's in the kitchen talking. Monty's saying that he's going to eat some wings with Taylor. Everyone else is having cinnamon toast crunch. Terrence is saying that he's going to have some wings with Taylor. I guess now that Jasmine's out of the house, chicken wings are again available to the house guests. They no longer are a luxury item. That was the Jasmine rule, I guess, with regards to chicken wings. So, Taylor and Terrence are going to have some chicken wings last night. We've got Brittany and Taylor in the kitchen. They spent a lot of time in the kitchen just talking to one another. Brittany is talking a little gameplay, a little strategy. Brittany's saying that it's in Monty's best interest probably to work with Michael to get out Turner. They're worried about this division of 3 versus 3 and where Monty falls and all that. So she's saying, look, I know Monty sees Michael's a threat, but he's better off working with us to get out Turner, and then afterwards he can do something else. They are thinking that it's probably in their best interest to keep Monty around as opposed to, say, a Turner or Terrence or Alyssa, because I think that Monty's a little more flexible, could go either way, where they know the other sides are going to be coming after them. So they're thinking about that. Taylor is saying that she really, of everyone that's left, she wants Terrence gone. Brittany is agreeing, but she's also saying that she's afraid that Alyssa could win at the end. And I don't know that she's talking about a final 2 jury vote. I think she's talking about that final 3 competition to see who goes to final 2. She says Alyssa really knows a lot of stuff, knows the kind of questions that they ask, has studied a lot. and that she thinks Alyssa could be dangerous in that final competition. So she's saying, I agree Terrence needs to go, but Alyssa could be dangerous as well. We have to watch out for that. There's talk about more talk about Michael. Taylor's suggesting that maybe it's time for Michael to go, or at least they need to be considering that and everything. Brittany is saying, look, I really think we need to wait until the final three. And then if one of us wins, send Michael home or send Michael to jury house. But she's saying if we do it ahead of time, though, if Michael's gone and it's just the two of us, people are going to come after us. And so he's kind of a little bit of a shield for us. So we need to wait to final three. I get it. I truly do. But if you wait to final three, I'm not convinced that you got a lot of chance of beating Michael to make it to that final two at that point in time. Brittany or Taylor's again saying that she wants Terrence gone first, and Brittany's agreeing, but worried about Alyssa. Turner joins them. They spend some time looking at the memory wall, the memory board, talking about who the ugliest house guest is, who they will or they won't have contact with once the season's over, who they feel closest to, just talking about the different house guests and yeah, again, yeah, who they clicked with, who they didn't. All right, we've got Monty joining Brittany and Taylor in the kitchen. More talk about Kyle, the fact that there was a lack of clapping. I think Taylor's the one that says, yeah, that Alyssa had said, had told, or Kyle had told Alyssa to close the door as soon as he walked out because if people were booing, he didn't want the other house guests to see it. So that kind of explains as Kyle walked out the door last night, instead of keeping the door open like house guests often do, as he walked out the door, he immediately closed it behind him. And so maybe a little bit petty, perhaps, but maybe just a little more embarrassment. Not sure how the crowd was receiving him at that time. So they're talking about that a little bit. Now, talking about an uber level of super fan, Michael apparently told Taylor that he had noticed that Julie Chen was wearing a ponytail, and that when she wears her hair full and open, that's like the nice Julie. When she wears her hair in a ponytail, that means she's getting ready to have some difficult interviews, difficult conversations. So he's based on Julie Chen's hairstyle, thinking they may have grilled Kyle a little bit during the interview itself. That is paying attention, my friends. All right. Eventually, they're all outside. They've got the backyard. Brittany and Turner having a long conversation in the hammock, talking about the season so far, just life in general, background stories, things like that. Really not anything strategic. We've got Monty and Terrence playing pool. They're still talking about how long Michael and Brittany waited to reveal these Kyle conversations and how that's just chapping them a little bit. Monty's saying, though, said, look, they've got the power. There's nothing we can do about it. So there's no use creating a fuss this week. It is what it is. But he says next week, if one of us has the power, yeah, it's going to be different, especially based on how long they waited and everything else. They're saying that the jury should have a lot to say and a lot to think about when they hear about this whole topic of Kyle and these conversations that were held. They're both now at this point saying that they're going to convince the jury to vote against either Michael or Brittany if they're the final two. So we certainly hear some continual repercussions on what took place with everything last week. All right, we finally get a HOH room reveal at 1:00 or so in the morning. Michael gets more pictures of his cats. I think one of his fiance and some friends as well. More pictures of his cats. Letter from his fiance. Music. I think his music was from Katy Perry. So more photos and letters for Michael. Everyone's very happy for him, it seems. There's a few people. Turner sitting there looking like he really wishes he was somewhere else. Alyssa looking like she very much is either ready to call a night and go to bed, or she would prefer to be somewhere else as well. But they hang around up there forever. In fact, the first person to leave the HOH room isn't one of those two. It's Taylor. Taylor goes in the backyard, starts playing cornhole by herself and just kind of pep talking herself. And one interesting thing she mentions while she's out there is she's saying that she absolutely believes that she can win a final two against Brittany. If it's the two of them on the final chairs, she thinks she can beat Brittany. And she's saying it doesn't really matter if Monty gets me there, if Michael gets me there, if it's me versus Brittany, I'm going to beat her. So we're hearing what Taylor's preferred game plan is, and no huge surprise. She doesn't want to be up against Monty. She wants to be up against Brittany. I think she's right. I think she, especially now that we're hearing Monty and Terrence talking about how they're going to kind of poison the jury. But even before that, I think Taylor beats Brittany. Taylor is seeing her path to victory in this game, as are probably all of them. At this point, whether they're acknowledging it out loud or not, in their heads, they're all trying to see which way they need to go to win this thing. They're all at least dreaming a little bit about it. All right. Michael is starting his one-on-ones 2:15 in the morning or so. We're gonna get through this quick. There's a lot of one-on-ones, but we're gonna cover it quick because I can talk forever. But he's starting his one-on-ones about 2:15 or so with Terrence. He's saying, "Look, I promised Turner. Turner's not going up this week. Nothing has changed on that." Terrence is saying, "I get it." He's saying, "Look, from my standpoint, I feel like I'm on the very bottom in this house right now. I don't even really have a game plan. I hope that you've got something in mind that I can contribute with that involves me, but I just don't." He said, "I don't really know who I want you to put up. I don't have a game plan. I'm just here trying to survive at this point in time." Michael is asking Terrence about Direfest a little bit, and so Terrence is spilling the beans on that. He's saying that he really thought coming back into the house, if he had an intact showmance, that would give him some cover because people would potentially target Kyle and Alyssa instead of Terrence. So that was part of his thinking. He's saying that he wasn't sure he could really trust Joseph's double agent kind of situation at the time. He's also telling him that Kyle had told him that Monty and Joseph were running the show, and that Kyle and Turner really wanted to try to get Joseph out while they had an opportunity. So he was kind of following their lead a little bit. He's also protecting Turner a little bit. He's saying that Turner was the most reluctant to reveal the leftovers. Now I get it. Terrence is playing loyal at this point. Terrence has to realize, right, that it's him and Alyssa and Turner that are the targets this week for Michael. If I'm Terrence, and maybe it happens later, but if I'm Terrence, I'm not trying to protect Turner too much because it could come down to Turner versus Terrence. Now I know the promises have been made and all of that, but if someone wins veto, pull themselves off, you never know what happens. So we'll see if that's the case. But yeah, Terrence is saying, yeah, Turner was loyal to the very end. It's only after everyone else had revealed everything that he kind of came clean as well. Alyssa's the next one-on-one for Michael. She's hoping that Michael knows that she can be a benefit to him. Michael is kind of kissing up to her and implying that he wants to work with her by suggesting that no one really would want to sit next to her in a final two because of her social game, and her social game's so strong that he certainly hopes that the two of them can figure out a way to work together for what's coming up. So just kind of some small talk like that. Now, towards the end, in fact, I thought the conversation was about done. Alyssa reveals some important information to Michael. She reveals that Kyle had told her all about the Pound Alliance. And the fact that there were 4-pound members, that Turner and Monty are still in the house. So, that's got to get Michael thinking a little bit, right? Does it affect Michael's picks? Well, I don't know. At least for now, it seems like Turner's still safe, but we'll see what happens. Kyle also told her, and now she's passing on to Michael, that Monty and Turner likely have a final two based on that Pound Alliance. We'll see what Michael does with that information. All right, we've got Brittany and Michael on a one-on-one. Well, not really one-on-one because Brittany knows she's safe. They're celebrating, but they are agreeing at this point in time that Terrence is the main target. But Michael is worried about putting Alyssa up next to him this week. I'm not really sure what his thinking is, why he fears that, but he's a little bit nervous about that. Maybe that one could win the veto, but then the other one's still on the block. So I'm not sure what his thinking is, but he expresses a little bit of concern about that. But Michael is also hoping that people will target Monty before him if the other side gains power. No, I don't think that's the case. I think that ship has sailed, Michael. You are the target for everyone involved except perhaps for Brittany. Everyone else, if they have the opportunity, you're in trouble, my friend. But he's hoping maybe Monty could still be a target, which means that they probably don't necessarily want to get rid of Monty this week because he could be a little bit of a meat shield for Michael is what he's thinking. Brittany is talking about Taylor and saying, look, Taylor's just waiting for someone to take you out, Michael. She may not want to do it herself, and she may not do it herself, but she's perfectly happy to have someone else knock you out the door because she's worried about you as a final three, as a final two. So they're working with Taylor, but a little concerned about that as well. And they are wondering if the Pound is still a thing based on what Alyssa told them. All right, Turner's one-on-one, not a whole lot going on. before Turner even gets a chance to say anything, Michael says, look, you're safe. You're not going up based on what you did last week. I'm not putting you up, and saying that Terrence is a target. And Turner says, fire. I think he said something like that. Anyway, so a quick conversation with him. We've got Taylor one-on-one. Actually, I think this happened after Monty, but whatever. Taylor's a one-on-one. She's basically saying, look, Terrence is my preference, and that's who I'd love to go for. And other than that, not a whole lot of really strategic conversation. And then Monty one-on-one as well. Monty's being told by Turner that Terrence and Alyssa is definitely the plan. He'll say, Monty said, what are you going to use as the reasoning? I don't know why you need reasoning at this point in time. Why Michael could just say, well, we had a leftovers. Y'all two weren't part of it. Therefore, it just seems right. Honor leftovers to the end. But Monty saying, what are you going to use for an excuse? And Michael saying, I'll probably just say that I haven't talked game with them as much as everyone else. And therefore, I just do it like that. I don't know why you need to get that tricky with it, but whatever. Monty's also saying that, look, if you put the two of them on the block, I'm confident that if Turner or I won veto, we wouldn't use it. We're not going to put you in that kind of position. Let the two of them go on the block. One of them go home. We'd be good with it. So in other words, leave Turner and I alone. We won't mess with your picks whatsoever. Michael does mention to Monty this Final Four kind of concept they talked about, saying, you still good with it? Michael, Brittany, Taylor, and Monty. Remember, Monty's kind of flipped between the two. And Monty said, yeah, good. Absolutely. As you should say to the HOH. And so they're saying they'll talk a little bit later this week about it and maybe solidify a little bit. So, yeah, Monty's trying to use that to protect his position. But we know he's already told Terrence before, said, why would I be in a Final Four when I know I'm at the very bottom of it? Well, with the very top of it's the HOH, you agree to whatever, at least for this week, right? So there's kind of a Final Four depending on who's HOH at the time. And with that, oh my God, they talk forever, guys. As of like 8 o'clock or so when I'm filming this, Taylor and Monty and Turner are still up in the kitchen talking. It just goes on and on. They feel safe, so they're not too worried about being tired or anything else today. So there you have it. Most of the house guests in bed, a few still up talking. Sounds like the target's going to be Terrence and Alyssa as the first targets. If one of them pulls off, then Monty, Turner goes up. That's where Monty and Turner maybe need to start talking a little bit and realize that that one or the other could go up if the veto is won by Terrence and Alyssa. But it looks like Terrence and Alyssa will be going on the block. We will find out with the nomination ceremony probably taking place today. I would expect it to take place today as usual. So with that being said, be watching this evening. I'll be back tomorrow morning to give you the update. Figure out who's comparing notes, what's going on, if there's any big changes to be had, or if this is just going to be a boring week with the with everything already pretty much pre-decided and all that. We'll find out. I'll be back tomorrow morning to give you all that insight, the updates, and tell you everything that happened overnight. Until then, it's Friday. Thank God it's Friday. Y'all enjoy y'all's day. Enjoy the start of the weekend. College football starts up this weekend as well. Go Aggies. Gig of Aggies. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow morning. SKD 143. Cheers, my friends.